I have a wonderful guest on Glo's Eatery today. Welcome, Lucy.
Hi, Gloria.
And Lucy Ritchie is from Stoneham, and she has agreed to come on the show today because she is very familiar with the recipe we're going to be doing, and that is stuffed cabbage. It's a nice recipe because it'll take you into the fall and winter season. It's something that is a warm, toasty type of recipe, and it comes from my late mom, who had this well into the 50s. And I know that Lucy is very familiar with all the produce that we're using here because Lucy works locally at a supermarket, and you brought some interesting cabbage with you as well.
I did.
And so I'd like to show the audience first what my stuffed cabbage looks like. And if you could just help me lift it up, and if you see that there are different color varieties of cabbage, and you said you use a certain type.
I use Savoy cabbage. It's a little bit of an easier
And
cabbage to work
when
with.
I was in the supermarket, I noticed a dark green Savoy cabbage and a light green Savoy. And this is just a regular, smooth cabbage. So you'll see all the varieties that we work with as we proceed into the show. And also, what I wanted to share with you and Lucy is my mom's original recipe. And I don't know if the camera can zoom in on that and see. My mother was a business major, so she had wonderful handwriting skills. And she wrote every single specific direction to me. And this continues on to the back side. And she also adds her little details of, boy, it should be delicious, taste it and see. My mom always left me little coin phrases and little extra special notes that have helped me make this the type of stuffed cabbage she had. But Lucy, what do you remember from making stuffed cabbage at your home?
Well, my mom, it's actually one of our favorite meals. My daughter just loves it. And I usually have my mom make it for me because, of course, hers always comes out better. But it's delicious, and our ingredients are just a little bit different.
Well, in the years that I've known you, I know you love to cook.
I do.
And so as we proceed into the show today, you'll show us the differences, and you'll show the audience the differences.
Very good.
Lucy and I have split the recipe, so I'm going to show my Hamburg along with Lucy showing hers. It's actually 2 pounds, so this is a pound of Hamburg. And there's a nice little center opening there. I'm going to add an egg. Take breadcrumbs. And by the way, this bowl, I've shown it on the show before, is probably about 75 years old, and it was my mom's. And it's just a great feel to be able to use her equipment. Then we have seasonings. So you have a little bit of salt and garlic powder. And begin mixing everything, because the very last thing to go in is raw rice. And you only use a tablespoon of raw rice in the mix. Gives it some good texture. And don't hesitate to use your hands. Right now I'm being very delicate and I'm using the chopper. But make sure everything is mixed in relatively well. And then add your rice. And I'll be good. I'll measure out the rice this time. And make sure you incorporate it into the meat, the ground beef. I'm sure some people even try turkey, which could be fine, but I stay with the old recipe. How you doing, Lucy?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Yeah. And she's using a glass bowl, which is fine too. And you have to add in the grated onion. We each have a half. So 1 onion for 2 pounds of Hamburg. And watch your fingers. If it starts to shed a little bit, you can do away with it because you've got enough seasoning with the garlic and the salt. Just make sure you incorporate it into the meat. Do you have all your things mixed in?
Everything's mixed in, it looks great.
Awesome. Awesome. So then, once you get it together, we'll set it aside, okay? Because now we're going to prepare the cabbage. Lucy, why don't you show our viewing audience how we prepare the cabbage for boiling?
Okay.
Because there is a special process and there are many different types of cabbages. So why don't you take it from there?
Okay. We're just gonna trim the top of the stem just a bit.
Not down to the core, right?
Not down to the core,
Right.
just a little bit.
Okay.
Then we set it aside. Take that off and we'll just trim it.
Okay.
And then
So
we get
now this allows it to boil and soften
Yes,
so we can wrap it easily.
yes.
Okay. Now you're using this dark green cabbage that I picked up,
I am.
but you also brought another kind of cabbage.
I did. When we prepare
Oops.
our cabbage meal, we use the Savoy cabbage, which is, it's a little bit of a wrinkly cabbage and a little bit easy to work with. It's easier to peel off than it is to use the regular cabbage. It's much more bendable, and we don't do any trimming to it till after it's cooked, and just makes it a little bit easier.
It's nice and soft and ripply.
It is.
I did see a Savoy cabbage at the supermarket that was very heavy. It didn't look as thin as that
Yes. See how easily it just
one. Peels right off.
peels right off.
Okay. Now, I got a cabbage yesterday, and this is fairly loose. Some of your white cabbages are very tight
Yes.
and very tough. You have to really squeeze underneath. If you have a problem, take and cut the very top of the cabbage off. That's a little trick that you can do, and this way you'll get down into the leaves a lot better. So just get rid of this. And then if you notice how they start to drop off easily. And then just take by the bottom part and lift up. They're still pretty hard. I mean, they're still pretty hard.
I just want to show you the difference between, this is a little bit of a thicker cabbage than the Savoy cabbage, and it's a little lighter. And it seems to, they cook pretty much the same time. It's just, we always thought the Savoy was a little bit easier to cook with.
Really, and this is the first time I've been made aware of this, so I'm glad that
So maybe you can try it with the Savoy next time and
Right.
see how it comes out.
you pointed it out. But these cabbage leaves are ready to be put in boiling water. So now we have the prepared leaves, and we add them to a boiling pot of water. And if you notice, some of the leaves are huge. You know, some I cut right down to through the pulp. It's still good because you have a very large leaf you're going to be working with. And some of them will be cut in half if we're able to wrap them fairly well over the meat. So that make sure you place all of these in the pot and get it into the water. Naturally it'll be boiling. And do this for 10 or 15 minutes. And while you're doing this, you will prepare the base. But here is how it'll look, and it will come out very, very soft. And that's what you're aiming for. A nice pliable piece of cabbage leaf. Now we're ready to, after this, make the base. Okay, Lucy and I are preparing the base now, the vegetables. So the vegetable base is carrots and celery and onions. And so each of us is doing our thing, right, Lucy?
We are.
And I'm just taking and cleaning it off, making sure all the outer skin is gone. And then, Lucy, you're doing it how? You're doing it the long way, the carrot?
Well, I usually slice it in half.
Okay.
I slice the carrot in half and just chop it the long way.
And I'm doing little round coin wedges so that you have to cube it, and that means cutting each one in quarters. I just find this one a little bit easier, so that, Lucy, you're doing yours.
I just try and get them as small as I can.
Right, 1/4 to 1/2 inch max, and use a nice sharp knife. And then once you have that done, we also have some carrots prepared for our base. You also do the same with the celery. And mind you, when you're waiting for the cabbage to be softened in the pot, make sure that you keep the pot uncovered, because that would be a little bit too much steam for the cabbage, and it might just kind of disintegrate and fall apart. So there you have that, and then you can just lift her up and take her off to the side, like so. Okay. And work on your celery in the very same way. Now I do find it easier to take, and I cut off the ends already, but just go right down the middle and just chop away. It might flip, but just keep going. And there you have, you've done your celery already?
I've done my celery, I've done my carrots.
Good, you are good. And now we're both on a roll with our onions. Okay. And the onion, I know Lucy does hers differently. How do you do it?
I usually slice mine in the middle, which I
Okay.
did. And then I just
I
slice,
tend to,
slice.
I cut crisscross, and then I let it fall where it may. And I know that you go like right around the middle. And if any pieces are still connected, I just chomp them away.
This way it kind of helps the onion get into its smaller pieces.
Right, right, right. I did cut the wedge halfway through so that, okay. And there you have your preparation for your 3 veggies. Now Lucy and I will put the base together. Go ahead.
Okay, we're going to add our carrots to the pot. And we're going to add our onions. And we'll add our celery. And I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of sugar. Okay. And we'll add some water.
4 to 5 cups. You might start with 4 and add a little bit later on.
And then we're going to add a 32 ounce?
38.
38 ounce of bottle of ketchup, which gives it a lot of flavor. Okay, we'll go mix that up. Okay, I think that's good.
And now we're ready to boil it first, bring it down to a simmer, about 45 minutes. That should do. And then when you have your stuffed cabbage added in, you do it for another hour, hour and a half. I parboiled some beef marrow bones. You're supposed to boil them out before adding them to the base. I love these, so I added 2 more. They usually only call for 2 marrow bones, but they are delicious. They add great flavor to your base. So I'm just adding those in. So we now removed the leaves from the pot, and you can see they're nice and moist, soft, and we're going to start to stuff them. We take a leaf. Lucy, you do yours.
I'll do mine here.
And Lucy, you said you got rid of the extra pulp,
I did because it's a little tough to work with.
and so
And I just sliced it in half,
like
right in the
so.
middle.
Okay, right in the middle. Like so. Okay, so once you have that, you start stuffing. Take a good sized portion. Now, Lucy, you roll yours in first
I do.
and then over, and keep rolling it until it's complete. So that is how it looks. Now, I also do it by taking and rolling it over the, I'll show you. When you take the piece of meat, instead of rolling it in right away, what I do is roll it over to catch the meat and then roll it in a bit. So you can choose whichever way you get the meat to stay in. And then press it down when you're finished. There, you've got that. So we'll just do a few more. How you doing?
Doing great.
Yeah, they're very flexible.
They are, but I want you to try the Savoy and see how you think the Savoy cabbage works for you.
Absolutely, because I see how there's a heavy pulp there that I had to get rid of.
Yes.
I wanted it to stay closed. But the white seems to be pretty good. The white seems to be a little thinner. Put it in the middle, and you see you've got at least 2 inches of meat, and I'll do it the way I said in the recipe. You roll it, get all your ends in, and tuck it under, give it a little press at the end. There you have it. They roll up very, very nicely. And they stay packed down when they're in the pot. They don't open up.
And didn't you tell me a lot of times you'll use toothpicks?
On the very top,
the
if
very
I see
top,
that
if
it's not right, I don't use toothpicks inside, but on the very
On the
top, I do put a few toothpicks in to make sure that they, you know, they stay immersed.
Now what we do is we use a pan just like yours, and we put them on top of each other after they're rolled, and then we add water to the very top.
Ah, I see.
And then
So
we put a heavy plate on top so it holds it down.
then you wouldn't need
We
the
didn't need
toothpicks. That's a
toothpicks.
good idea. Well, there you have the beginnings of stuffed cabbage.
Okay, so in our last 20 minutes of our cooking of our cabbage, we're going to make a little mixture of our sauce, and we're going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar, and then we're going to add some lemon, a half a lemon. We're going to squeeze that right in. Okay. And we're going to stir it, and then just pour it over your cabbage. And that is it.
That'll be it, and it cooks actually for an hour and a half, simmers, and then that would be the last 20 minutes. So that gives it that extra little flavor. Awesome.
Very good.
Thanks. And this is the finished product. My friend Lucy and I have developed a casserole, a side dish that goes great with this stuffed cabbage recipe. So it's sweet potatoes, carrots, and raisins. And the broth is brown sugar, butter, and orange juice. Absolutely delicious. You can actually get it on YouTube, on my show, or by emailing me at glomez@verizon.net. So just remember that. I'd just like to show you that you take a sweet potato, and what you do is you just score it right around the middle. Put it in a pot of boiling water and boil it up for a good half hour. Then when you take it out of the pot, immediately immerse it in ice water. And this is the results. You get a skin that just peels right off. So just make sure that you remember this little trick, and then you can cut it into 1 or 2 inch wedges. And this is the results thereof. If you find that any of the raisins are starting to darken, just take and slip them into the base, the liquid, and they won't turn brown. But this is an exceptional side dish. You must try it. Sweet potato, carrot, raisin, casserole. And I would like to thank my friend Lucy for being on the show with me. It was a pleasure, and she certainly has a lot of know-how in the food industry, so she was a great assist. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Gloria.
And thank you for joining.
you.
And again, if you want to check on glomez@verizon.net or YouTube for the recipes.